Hi, I'm Tony Williams, and this is Brooklyn Savvy. Hi, I'm Tony Williams, and welcome to Brooklyn Savvy. We are delighted to have the first African-American female coach for the NFL, and it's the New York Jets, right?
First female coach for Jets.
Oh, this is Collette Smith. But before we get to talking more to you about this incredible journey that you've made, I want to introduce our Savvy panelistas. We have Desiree Kinney, Nomiki McCrillis, and Maria De Longoria. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining. Now, Collette, when I look at you, the last thing I think about is football, quite seriously. When I see you, I don't see that. Yeah. So talk to us about how you got to football. Because I was reading in your biography that you were a ballet dancer, and I see that. A ballet dancer, but then you segued some kind of way into football, which was a passion. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, ballet was not a passion for me. Ballet was something I was told I had to do it.
Okay.
You know, growing up, I was a tomboy. So for me, being told I had to go dance, I was like, you're out of your mind? You know, so when my dad picks up the belt and says, we going right now, you going, right? So then I always wanted to play football. So my older brother was allowed to play. And so I wasn't because I was a girl.
Right.
You know, so back when I was growing, I'm 50 years old, so back when I was growing up, it was different. Today, you can't tell a girl you cannot play because you're a girl. But back when I was growing up... You
can't say it, but you could influence.
Oh, and that happens still.
Right,
that happens.
Definitely still happens, right.
Yeah, unfortunately that happens. Not on my watch, but it happens. So when I was growing up, I was told you cannot play because you're a girl. And you just had to eat it. That was it. So football was just always something I liked and wanted to play, but was never allowed to. And which makes me think about my mom not being able to ride the bus because she was black. You know, my grandfather having crosses burned on his business. He was a butcher in Mobile, Alabama.
Right.
You know, and so all of that it never sat right with me. I'm getting goosebumps right now. I want to do something.
I'm just kind of thinking about, so when I think of football, I think of heavy duty contact. So you wanted to do that.
I just wanted to play the football, the sport. For me, it wasn't about wanting to hit somebody or not. It was just a beautiful sport that I saw beyond tackling. Right? It was just strategy.
That's what people don't see. There's a lot of strategy, a lot
tons.
of yes.
Yeah, there's tons of strategy in football. That's the most beautiful part about it, is knowing your opponent. It's the same thing dealing with your work environment. You know, you need to know who your managers are, who the ones that are going to back you, the ones who are not going to.
You need to know who's on what team.
You need to know who's on what team. Absolutely. Know your personnel.
Now, you didn't start this journey, or you tell us, at 42 years old, you did a tryout. Talk to us about that experience.
Oh, wow. That was exciting. So I did real estate for about a gazillion years, New York City real estate market. I worked for a top firm, made top money. Things were great. The market crashed. And I was literally at home messing around on the computer. And I wasn't looking for football. Why would I? Because that was shut down out of my brain, right? So I wasn't looking for it, but it just kind of fell into my lap. I'd like to say it was from God. He knew I needed it. And so I came across women's pro football tryouts. And I was smoking a cigarette. I was drinking a 40 ounce. And I was sitting in my house. And I looked down at the computer, and I was like, this can't be women in football. Get out of here, women aren't allowed. I said, this is for real. I said, well, tryouts are Saturday, I'm going, you know? And so I finished that cigarette, I finished that 40 ounce, and I started working out. And I went to tryouts. So it just kind of fell in my lap by way of God.
Right.
And I needed it. I needed it so bad in my life. I needed that strength, that sisterhood, that unity, that, you know, doing something I was told I can't to be powerful. It was
absolutely.
I just needed it.
Now you mentioned that word.
I made the team.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now, but before we even go further, you talked about God. Talk to us about that. You said this was God that directed you. I like that.
Yeah, that's for me. Like, you know what I find very interesting is that I was dragged to church as a kid my whole life, from my grandmama in the South to my mama, who's from the South, in New York, where we went to church. And so God always played a big part in my life until I got to be a teenager where I was questioning things a lot. And well, if he loves us, people so much, why are all these problems? So I was questioning everything. And then it turned into me praying to God for a platform to help others. Like literally 5 days a week, I was praying. I would literally get on my knees and pray to God for a platform. I used to say, please, Jesus, make me important one day. Give me a platform so I can help other people, because I'm nobody right now. I want to be somebody so I can help somebody else. And for years, I prayed that prayer. And then he gave me football.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden, I was empowered.
And I am where you are.
Yeah.
I understand that so deeply. You were going to say something, Maria. No. So let's talk about that football. I want to get back to the football story. It was the Sharks, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us about that whole experience. Being at the Sharks and then ending up with the NFL.
The women's pro football in itself, being there with my team. And listen, some of these girls I would never cross paths with. Never. I was the oldest chick on the team almost. So for me, these girls were girls. They were going out, hanging out. I wasn't doing it. I had my fill with that. Trust me, I really did have my fill with that back in the day. So, but it was a sisterhood. It was a way for us to push each other. I live alone, single, no man, got a dog who's a rescue. Everybody adopt, don't buy. And so when I watched the movie, there was no one to cry with or laugh with. So it was me alone, and I really needed some sisterhood. And so this team was just exactly that. And from people whose paths we never would have crossed. So for me, like even going through tryouts, we're in competition, right? We're in competition. And I remember I had asthma, so I used to keep my asthma pump in my sock in case I got out of breath. And I'd be like, and I'd get back out there in the field. But it was like, don't stop, get it. Don't stop. And I don't think I've ever had that kind of fire in my life, being a rape survivor and a suicide survivor. And for me, I just wasn't excited about life a lot of times. So this was my chutzpah. It was something that I had to have.
Empowering control.
That I correct, yes. Very valid point.
There's also a parallel, Collette, from being victimized and having a lot of trauma to being in a sport that you've conquered and have overcome, being with your own strength.
Correct.
So that's
it was very powerful for me. In fact, I remember at tryouts, I didn't even know who I was. So when they slapped that number across your chest and on your back, and they had you do football drills, which I had never done, like authentic football drills, I didn't know who I was because I was trying to tear everything up. And anytime anybody else was trying out, the women that were trying out with me, if they were tinkering out, I was like, let's go, you can do this. So it was like a hype up of them, which was hyping me up. And I remember at some point I said, who are you, Collette? Like who this person you never let out was in me the whole time.
And Collette, I love that you're talking I know you mentioned you're 50, you definitely don't look it. As a millennial woman, it's really inspirational to see you step outside that mold. As a millennial woman, we're constantly facing, we're looking at the Kardashians, we're looking at all these images of what we're supposed to be instead of defining who we want to be.
Right on.
And I love that you are creating that. I have a background in financial services. I walked in 10 years ago and I was like, where are the women? So when I first heard your story, it brought me to tears and it inspired me. And I think a lot of women, I think you've made an impact on the women's movement to say, hey, we're here, we're loud and proud, and we're going to be different. We're going to shock you.
But what I hear is the
Yeah.
overcoming piece, which is now you said that you're a rape survivor and that you also are a suicide survivor. Both of those things are extremely heavy. But the fact that you share that and you're transparent around that, what makes you transparent around something that some people might want to keep to themselves?
So I hid it for most of my life, right? So I was 18 years old. I was a freshman in college, and my aunt's husband raped me. And I didn't tell anybody. Eventually, I told my boyfriend on campus. Mind you, this happened off campus at my aunt and uncle's home in Atlanta, Georgia, in Buckhead. And I didn't want to see anybody. I was like I shunned myself to my room. I didn't want to see anybody anymore. All my vibrance left. Like I was, but freshman year, you saw me on campus, I was like, what's up?
Yeah, right.
And it went from that to, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, head down. And eventually it just got to the point where I was like, enough is enough. Like, this is wrong, no one's gonna speak up about it. Well, hell, I am. And I remember the first time I really told somebody, I felt empowered. I felt like, good grief.
Release.
My God, my shoulders are like up now, right?
Took yourself back.
Yeah, I took my, from pain to power,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And then I used to have men, it was always the men that would say to me, you probably shouldn't use that word rape, it makes people uncomfortable, you shouldn't say that. And I'm like, excuse you, if you got shot with a gun and a bullet, I'm not gonna say someone threw a bullet at you. You know?
So how did your family respond once you mentioned that this had happened to you?
So down south, my grandparents and my aunts and uncles down there were just pretty much like, oh, child, stop. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. So that's what it was. Just shut up, sweep it under the rug, move on. We fried some chicken, we got some collard greens and some cornbread, so there you go.
Right.
And I wanted to eat, so I just ate.
Right, yeah, stuff it.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So then it became me just being more vocal about it. But I still dealt with my family. Today, I don't deal with them. Today, as a girl, since football. Since football, I remember
So
one
football healed in a kind of a lot of
did it
ways.
ever.
Wow.
Healed me and made them suffer because they don't want to see me coming.
Exactly. Now, as a coach for men's football, how were you received? Meaning, because my son's a football player, and I hear all this macho talk. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff going on in those locker rooms. How did you gain respect, or did they give it to you? How did that whole dynamic work?
I never was disrespected. So I don't even know what that looks like, to be quite honest. I honestly don't.
Can I ask, how did you go though from the transition from playing to get?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I played pro for 3 years. I was injured most of the time. Didn't get a lot of playing field, but I got to put that uniform on and walk through it, run through a tunnel. That was amazing. Well, I retired, so I had double knee surgery. I had both of my knees done at the same time. The doctor didn't want to do that. I said, look, I'm older. You're gonna do both knees same time. That's
a whole lot of occupational therapy there. Not occupational, physical therapy.
Yeah, so I did, because he said to me, we're gonna do 1 year, one knee, you'll have a year of rehab, and then the next year, and I'm like, I said, dude, I'm 44 years old. This was back when I was 40. I said, I'm 44 years old. I don't have time to wait a year for this and a year. I said, you're gonna do them both. We're gonna do aggressive rehab, because I'm getting back out there on that field. I didn't get my fill in. So I had both knees done. That final year, it just wasn't working. And I knew I needed to give it up. I wasn't an asset to the team. And so I retired, and the owner of my team asked me to come back. She goes, we don't want to lose you. Because I was that chick on the sideline, like, let's go, get your game.
Good coaching,
Right. So she said, I want you to be one of my coaches, which I was terrified to do because I had never coached before.
Well, you never played football before, so it's okay.
Exactly. You know what I mean? That's right. It was like, keep going, Collette. So run, Forrest, run. Just go. So I started coaching my women's pro football team. And then the following season, I was promoted, if you want to call it promotion, because women in football don't get paid yet. Right, so it wasn't like you were
You
really
said
getting
women
paid.
in football don't get paid yet?
Do not get paid. No, you have to pay to play.
So when you were playing on that team, you all had to pay.
Had to pay to play.
Oh my Lord.
Coaches got paid. If you want to call $300 or $400 or $500 a paycheck, then you go right ahead.
Do people watch? I mean, you had audience and all of that, right?
Not really. So there's about 100 women's pro football teams in the nation, and some states have more fans come out, like football country areas, right? So Pittsburgh, Alabama, those states have Boston, football country. New York City, not so much.
No,
everyone's going to the theater, restaurants, whatever,
Right.
So we didn't have a lot of fans. It was mainly your family and friends. But so I coached for 3 years, did the promo and the marketing, the public relations, and the events. So when I got that promotion, to me it was an honor because I just loved my team so much that I started going on fan group pages and to align myself with the New York Jets, because I'm a Jets girl. Grew up a Jets girl my entire life. That's who we wanted to win. And so somebody called me from the front offices of the New York Jets and said, oh my God, I see you guys everywhere, because I would position myself. Life is strategy.
Absolutely.
Right? Life is strategy.
Absolutely.
So I was, mind you, do I love football? Absolutely. Do I want to be around it? Absolutely. Am I going to be on social media talking to Billy Bob Thornton about football and who did? No, I'm not. No, I'm not doing that. But I knew I had to promote my women's team. So I positioned myself to say, well, oh, the New York Jets, the brothers of the New York Sharks, the women's pro. So I started doing these posts and posts like back all the time. So these guys are like, who are, what? So it started gaining interest. So somebody called me, and then we started talking. The guy offered to help out my team. I said, great, we need the help, whether it be equipment, whatever it is, anything will help. And I wanted on-field access. He offered on-field access, and I said, that's not gonna do anything for my team. And then I thought about it, I said, wait a minute, on-field access at practice will teach me to be a better coach for my women. Yeah, give me on-field access.
Right.
So then at some point he said to me, you know, once you get on-field access, you're not gonna need me anymore. Now he was my only real in with the Jets at this point.
Right.
Right, so it was like, don't leave me, what are you talking about? And he goes, Collette, trust me. I love talking to you on the phone. Your passion is jumping through, strangling me right now. So you're not gonna need me. You'll be fine when you get out there. And I got out there and I met the head coach and we started talking. And once again, I believe in research. So I did my homework on all the coaches and where they went to school, what position they played when they were in high school, college.
Now, were you a defensive
everything.
coach? Which
I was a defensive coach, yeah. So I coached the defensive backs. I'm all about defense. I love defense.
Right.
Yeah, so.
My son was a DN.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just to add, what position did you play?
I was a free safety. I was a defensive back.
Yeah,
it's called defensive backs, and it's also called the secondary unit.
So you were warmly received, it sounds like, by the Jets for the most part.
Yeah.
Now you wear a lot of hats, and one is ambassador for domestic violence. Talk to us about that. What is it that you do in that realm? And then I'm going to get to your other hat, because there's just a lot that you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank God. Thank God, because somebody has to.
So I'm one of the ambassadors for the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And that came to be because I saw, there was a woman from one of these reality shows. I'm not gonna name the show, but it's something it's a guilty pleasure. I watch it.
I got quite a few guilty pleasures
Yeah,
too.
we all
Right.
I love them.
But it's one of these shows where there's a lot of black women that are.
Okay,
I already know what it is.
You know which one. Exactly. And so one of those women I heard was an ambassador for the NCDAV, and I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? And it just appalled me. I was like, what? So I was like, there's no way. I'm sitting, standing, kneeling for this. So I called them up. I literally called up their headquarters, and I was like, listen, I disagree with what somebody said to me, whoever answered the phone said, who are you? And I told them who I was, and they said, oh, well, hold on a minute. So they put me through to somebody on the executive staff, and they said, you need to tell this woman. She and I was speaking, and I told her exactly who this woman was that they were going to put on as an ambassador, and why, all the reasons why it's wrong. For black women, for black girls. And so she said, I didn't know that about her. I just knew that she's on TV. And I said, I want to say,
model.
do your homework, but I didn't know.
Right.
Exactly. So it just kind of happened. And so, it's an honor to do that. So I just make more public appearances and speaking engagements about domestic violence.
Oh, interesting. Now, you also have an organization called Believe in You that you founded. Talk to us about Believe in You.
I love Believe in You Incorporated. So Believe in You Incorporated is my company that I started. We're not a nonprofit yet. I want it to be, it will be. I just don't have the time. I haven't had the time to do it yet.
Well, you can get a fiscal sponsor.
Hey, need those.
Yeah, you
Get
can
an
get a fiscal
assistant.
sponsor.
Yeah, I need an intern, campaign assistant right now. So it'll have to be an intern. She'll get credits at Medgar Evers.
All right, so we're gonna talk.
I can help you.
But so Believe in You came to be because when I left the Jets practice that day, and Coach Bowles and I were talking shop. That's the head coach of the Jets at the time. Love him to death, pieces. He's a great person. He said to me, you know, you should work for this organization. And so he said, next time you come back, bring a resume. And I'm like, I'm allowed to come back? Like, wait, work for the organization? So I was all over that. And he was sincere about it because he saw me out there working with the guys or talking it up with, you know, what's going on and where I saw flaws. And so I remember getting to my car and I called my father. And I'm Daddy's little girl.
I'm gonna say you close to him.
I'm very close to my dad.
I hear it. Yeah.
And I remember calling my father and I said, Dad, can you believe that Coach Bowles said you should work for this organization? Can you believe it? And I kept saying it. Can you believe that? Like, Dad, did you hear me? Can you believe this? And his response was, you know what? I can believe it. I'd be more proud of you if you believed it.
Oh.
And that resonated with me, you know? And so I remember when eventually I started working for the organization. It took a while. It took almost about a year, almost a year for me to get down with the Jets. But I remember working there and I said, I got to start a company to empower Black youth and girls, Black girls. And because I was getting letters from kids and fathers were reaching out to me saying, my daughter has never watched football with me until she heard about you. And so I was like, oh my God, like this is incredible. Then it hit me. Remember what I said about praying to God?
Hey.
Make me important.
You don't need to tell me about that.
I want a
one.
platform. And all of a sudden, and for years I thought he wasn't listening.
He gave you your platform.
He sure did.
And at the right and perfect time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking about football and the rap that is getting today in terms of the concussions and safety and injury. But then I think about what a difference the sport has made in so many people's lives. What do you think about that? Because right now, football is coming under assault for a lot of reasons.
Has been for a long time.
Yeah, and clearly we don't want to see our young men banged up and you know, unable to function after a career in football.
Right.
But I see it making a really good difference in so many people. What do you think? Is it worth the risk? Is
yes,
it
absolutely.
worth the risk?
Absolutely it is. I mean, I've got broken fingers, messed up knees, bad back. I'll do it all over again.
Why?
Hope. Hope.
What it instilled inside of
Absolutely.
you, right?
It's a way for you to challenge yourself. So if you think you can't go any further, one more. One more. Every day, your plan is to get better and better every day. And
Exactly.
football did that for me. I know a lot of kids that it does that for.
I saw that with my son. He's had a couple of injuries. I see him, it makes him very resilient. And actually, I think it makes you more mature before your time because there's a whole lot of setbacks in that sport.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's filled with setbacks, but
Yeah.
you've got to figure out a way to come back from that.
Yeah, like you can lose your starting position.
Yes.
Like that's a major setback. If you are on a football team and you think you're gonna start every game, no, you're not. You got to fight for that every week.
Absolutely.
At practice.
Absolutely.
So if you get your starting spot taken away, the only way to get it back is to be better now.
Because my son was always, I'm taking that. And he would get it.
And that's right.
And he would take it. But I
that's
like
right.
that, but that attitude helps you in life.
Yeah.
Desiree, it looks like you're trying to say something. I've been looking at you.
No, I mean, I just love the message to the youth. I think it's phenomenal just to be able to be an ambassador for youth, to show them, look, you can do something that you would not normally think you're capable of. And as a young girl, I actually remember even my mom saying to my brother, he can't play football. And I always asked her, why? Why? Isn't he a boy? Isn't he stronger? Isn't he
It's the
capable
safety.
of?
It's safety, and then the motivation that it takes for you to get out on that field and play to your best ability. You just can't. You can't bypass
I was scared
that.
to death my first game or
Right.
scrimmage. I was like, oh Lord, am I throwing up again? You know? It's scary, but it is exciting. And for you to come, you know what? Once you become fearless, you become limitless.
I keep hearing over and over again in your story and with stories with other not just boys, but girls, and not just football with other sports. It's just this story about how sports is really something that saves them, right? Whether it's keeping them conscious on eating right and exercising. So my son, one of my sons is that. Well, they're both athletes. One's playing like community football now, but the other one was a gymnast, right? And to have
That's a sport.
It is.
It sure is.
It is.
It's
such
tough.
a sport.
And you get injured a whole lot
Right,
too.
and he was a black boy in gymnastics was something that is still rare, right? And but he became more health conscious. He was more concerned about what he was eating, what he wasn't eating. He was not messing with any drugs. He wasn't drinking, because there was things that were going to affect his ability to be that strongest gymnast out there. So I think, you know, when you told your story and how it brought you back to and brought out what was within you out, right? After being buried for so long.
What's in you out. That's it.
Right. And then you see all the good that it does for so many people. Yes, that doesn't take away from the concussions and the other health challenges, but if you're looking at it on a scale of things, which outweighs more, right? Which one? Where do you see more good coming from?
Right on.
For the most number of people.
Anytime I'm insecure, anytime I have to think about my
fight
company,
it, don't you?
And I'm
Right.
like,
You
how
fight
dare
that.
me go speak to kids, my people, my community, and don't believe in me.
So you're talking yourself
get
up.
Colette.
And you know
I
what
got
I'm hearing?
goosebumps right now.
Right.
I'm
And you know
like,
what I'm hearing, Collette? I'm hearing, and then we're going to have to wrap. I'm hearing an inner dialogue. It is what you say to yourself.
Oh,
and
yes.
people, we have to be so conscious of that. What are the things that we are saying to ourselves about who we are? This was fantastic. Thank you for bringing
Absolutely.
your spark on Brooklyn Savvy.
If you
Thank
guys
you so
ever
much.
want to, find me or have me do some motivational speaking engagements at your schools, colleges, corporations, church, I talk about MasterCard.
I got something for you. I got something for you.
Yeah.
We already
I definitely
Yeah, I got something. But anyway, that's all the time we have for this episode of Brooklyn Savvy. Thank you, Savvy panelistas. Thank you, Collette.
Thank you.
And we will see you next time on Brooklyn Savvy.